Ohio Governor Mike DeWine vetoes bill that would have banned gender-affirming care for trans youth. So we talked about this, last week? Week before? About how that bill was going in to ban trans care. So I guess he vetoed it. So that's nice. A few in chat were optimistic that he would, I remember. All right, let's talk about it, shall we? I apparently have to zoom this in super far. Come here, Mike DeWine. Give me your beautiful head. Okay. Republican Ohio Governor Mike DeWine has vetoed legislation that would have prohibited transgender youth from accessing gender-affirming care. His veto shoots down the controversial bill, which would also stop middle and high school trans students from participating in athletics with cisgender peers. Oh, hello, food shops. Welcome. He announced the decision in a press conference Friday morning, the last day that he was allowed to veto it. DeWine said he listened to the bill's sponsor and also listened to physicians at the 5 children's hospitals in Ohio. He said he listened to families of youth, some who had negative experiences and detransitioned, as well as those who said gender-affirming treatment saved their child's life. They told me their child is alive only because they received care, he said, adding that he thinks people on both sides truly believe they are trying to protect youth. Sorry, I thought someone was at my door. While the law would impact only a very small number of children, the consequences of the bill would be profound, DeWine said. Ultimately, I believe this is about protecting human life, he said. Both parents of trans kids and adults who received care told him that the care saved their lives. These are gut-wrenching decisions that should be made by my parents and should be informed by teams of doctors who are advising them. These are parents who have watched their children suffer for years and have real concerns their children would not survive without it. Families are basing their decisions on the best medical advice they can get. While he vetoed the bill, DeWine said he would pursue administrative rules to help address several concerns, including the banning of gender-affirming surgery on minors, which is currently not practiced in Ohio. He is also looking at administrative rules to collect data and to combat clinics that might pop up to try to perform ideologically driven care, which he said was a concern from both sides of the issue. What happens now? Trans youth, LGBTQ+ rights advocates, and doctors are rejoicing in the decision. However, the lawmakers against the bill have another option to take away rights for trans children. The House and the Senate can override the governor on his veto. There may be an effort to do this, but it is possible it doesn't have enough votes, according to one Republican lawmaker who originally voted in favor of the bill. A 3/5 vote of the members of the House and Senate is necessary to override the governor's veto, meaning 60 representatives and 20 senators. The bill passed forward with 64 representatives originally, 62 after amendments, and 24 senators. Only 3 Republicans have been publicly against the bill. When it was passing the House, Republican state reps Jamie Callender and Brett Hillier voted against it. In the Senate, State Senator Nathan Manning voted against it. All the GOP no votes came from Northeast Ohio Ohio lawmakers. Yeah, they make Ohio's. That's what they do. In a one-on-one interview with State House reporter Morgan Trowell just a week before his decision, DeWine explained that the research he was doing into HB 68. Are you going to sign HB 68? Well, this is something that I'm really thinking a lot about. So I went to Children's Hospital here in Columbus. I went to the Children's Hospital in Akron and the Children's Hospital in Cincinnati just to see how they do it, what kind of care they give to these young people. But I've also talked to opponents who don't think that kind of care is appropriate. I've also talked to families who have told me that their care is just vitally important and save their child's life. So I'm trying to weigh all this and trying to get as much information together. You've always been somebody to care about children, but also parental rights. How would you reckon with signing this? I really don't want to get too deeply into this. We've got to get this. I have to get this right. There's a lot of testimony in the State House that you covered, and I want to look at that testimony, both pro and con. And that was the interview. But I have a follow-up here. We're still talking about Mike DeWine. It's not over. House plans to override Governor DeWine's veto of bill banning gender-affirming care for trans youth. The Ohio House is returning from their winter vacation early to attempt to override Governor Mike DeWine's veto of anti-transgender legislation. Many Republicans think they have the votes, but it is unclear if they actually do. State lawmakers weren't expected to return to Columbus until the end of January, but a veto has changed that. Governor DeWine refused to sign House Bill 68 into law and vetoed it on Friday morning. The bill would have banned trans youth from accessing gender-affirming care like hormone blockers and also some mental health services for conditions like gender dysphoria, which can be life-threatening distress due to a person's sex assigned at birth not matching their gender identity. It would also have barred trans middle and high schoolers from participating in athletics with cisgender peers. Were House Bill 68 to become law, Ohio would be saying that the government knows better what is medically best for a child than the two people who love the child the most, the parents, DeWine said Friday morning. These tough decisions should not be made by the government. And after months of protesting, Aaron Demlow was finally able to relax this weekend. I just felt like I could breathe for a second knowing that the kids like me in this state will have a little bit more time to get the health care they need, said Demlow, a trans activist. DeWine's veto came after spending weeks researching and talking to people on each side, which he told News 5 about in a one-on-one interview 1 week before vetoing the bill. I have to get this right, DeWine said. One of the people he talked to was Demlow. It was just him as a person trying to understand me as a person, so that he could make the best informed position that he could for the good of the state, Demlow said. Parents of trans kids like Sam Shim are praising the decision. Shim was worried about his daughter's safety if the bill was signed. She's been hospitalized twice at Nationwide Children's for gender dysphoria, the father said. As teenagers, there's often a struggle, and then you add gender dysphoria to the mix and it's a real challenge. But the celebration is short-lived for many LGBTQ+ rights activists. Are there enough vetoes to override the governor's veto? Are there enough votes to override the governor's veto? State House reporter Morgan Trow asked State Rep. Josh Williams. Yes, Williams said, in the best interest of children, you don't allow them to make life-altering decisions with a child's brain. They cannot comprehend the long-term ramifications. Williams is a supporter of the bill, and he and many conservative lawmakers are rallying to override the governor's veto. They only need 59 votes, but DeWine believes he offered suitable alternatives. He proposed creating administrative rules and addressing concerns like looking into restrictions for full genital surgeries as a minor. He also agreed with the legislature that there was no comprehensive data on those who received gender-affirming care and will direct relevant agencies to report findings to the legislature and public about minors and adults seeking care. All of the proposed rules have worried Demlow, for one, because he doesn't feel like it is safe to have a registry of trans people. I would hope that, with the plan that I've outlined, we would be able to work on the legislature, DeWine said. Williams sees that as a power grab. The governor is attempting to pull legislative authority from the state house and place it in the executive agencies under his control, the lawmaker said. It would have made much more sense for DeWine to just be hands-off, he added. You can't talk out of the side of your neck when you say to the cameraman that the government shouldn't be involved, and then 20 minutes later you say, but I'm going to order the government to be involved, Williams said. Well, okay, so I get what he's saying there, but God, I do not want to get into politics, I'll tell you that much. I do not want to be a politician. I thought I did for a while, but thinking about it, I really do not. The governor's spokesperson, Dan Tierney, rejected the lawmaker's assertion that DeWine was power-grabbing. The governor has invited legislators to collaborate with agencies on drafting these administrative rules. The rules must be approved by the Joint Committee on Agency Rule Review, JCAR, which is a joint legislative committee that provides legislative oversight, a check and balance, if you will, over administrative rules before they can be adopted, Tierney said in a written response to News 5. Given the governor's open invitation for collaboration and the statutory check and balance powers retained by the legislature, I would disagree with the characterization you provided. Yeah, that's a nice way to put it. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about. While the Republicans debate amongst themselves, Dimlo waits. Why go against best medical practice? He asked. I feel like they would have blood on their hands because I know from personal experience that I would not have survived to 18. Hours after the veto, House leadership sent out a text to Republican representatives saying that Speaker Jason Stevens would like to act quickly to override the veto. The message then asked if the lawmaker would support an override and if they would be available for a session on January 10th. Even lawmakers who had fundraisers scheduled, some out of town, planned to be back for the vote, many of them told News 5. The plan was officially decided Tuesday evening to have a session on January 10th. DeWine has always been a Giga Chad? Yeah, so true. He's just, I mean, he's a Republican representative, right? He's a Republican governor, right? So that means that, I don't know, I feel like he's one of the reasonable ones. A 3/5 vote of the members of the House and Senate is necessary to override the governor's veto, meaning 59 representatives and 20 senators. The bill passed forward with 64 representatives originally, 62 after amendments, and 24 senators. For COVID, he initially supported the lockdown and the Republicans hated him for it, but he's a staunch anti-abortionist. Yeah, you know, the governor of Kentucky was actually pretty good about COVID as well, surprisingly. However, if some lawmakers aren't able to make the January 10th date or have changed their minds about the legislation, it is possible the lawmakers won't reach 59. Interesting. If it gets overrode, it would then move to the Senate for their approval. It would go into effect after 90 days. Andy Beshear is a Democrat? Yeah, I know Andy Beshear is a Democrat. I just mean that I don't expect the governor of Kentucky to be very good on COVID, you know? Regardless of party. Kentucky's one of those states that, like, I have very low opinion of. The DOJ and progressive groups are likely to sue, as similar laws are being held up in other states. In late December, a federal judge in Idaho temporarily blocked their ban from taking effect. He argued that their law, similar to HB 68, violated the equality provision or the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. Transgender children should receive equal treatment under the law, U.S. District Judge B. Lynn Windmill in Boise wrote. Parents should have the right to make the most fundamental decisions about how to care for their children. Also in December, a federal judge in Alabama denied the DOJ's request to pause their law while a lawsuit was being heard. In the fall, federal judges in Kentucky and Tennessee allowed the states to enforce the bans as lawsuits are being heard. See? I told you. Low opinion of Kentucky. I'll tell you that. After a case this summer, federal judge in Arkansas struck down their ban, saying it was unconstitutional. It is likely the U.S. Supreme Court will take these cases eventually. Okay. So I guess we can be done with Mike DeWine right now. But I guess in a few days I'll have more content. Oh yeah. We're doing the Mike DeWine arc. The Governor Mike DeWine arc of Trans and the M. That's what we're doing.